Now, you've seen how bad things can get and how quick they can get that way. Well, they can get a whole lot worse. So we're not going to fight anymore. We're going to pull together and we're going to find a way to get out of here. First, we're going to seal off this room.
Good evening and welcome to the Joust. My name is Naggy. I'm here once again with my co-host Liam McNeil. A voice you know, a voice you can trust. I've always said it.
Don't go telling the people they can trust this voice. It's not a voice to be trusted.
Come on.
Didn't your mother ever teach you to never trust a bearded man, Naggy?
Yeah, well, you do drive that van as well. You know, I've told you to get rid of it. I've told you.
Well, came with windows, but I blacked them out.
Yes, Liam. We also
Too trustworthy a van with windows.
Speaking of a trustworthy man without a van, is our musical guest for this week. He is the president of the one-man band Keyboard Enthusiast Club. Please welcome this week, Chevrolet Chase. Thank you, Chevrolet. Now, Liam, I know it's a laughing time as a voice you know. Voice you know, of course, is the late and great John Laws, who isn't actually dead. He's still alive.
He's very much the current great John Laws, yeah.
A lot of people would have assumed he would have died by now because he just continues working. He was one of the pioneers of radio.
Well, I believe he's old enough that he was friends with Guglielmo Marconi when they first put things on the airwaves.
And then, so he pioneered the call-in show on radio. That's how long he's been around for. And then
Again,
now
he was with Alexander Graham Bell when he made that famous phone call.
He's lived so long now and been on radio for so long that he's actually seen the demise of radio. Isn't that quite something?
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
He never would have thought it. He would have thought, oh, well, maybe I'll retire soon. And he speaks with such authority. And
He's so old, his tax file number's 1.
Yeah. You know, he was on in Newcastle. Apparently, they used to do a lot of touring around with Little Richard, right? Little Richard.
Yeah, Little Richard. And Little Richard famously lost a diamond ring, I think, in the Hunter River.
He took them off. So they're going over to Stockton to do some sort of show, which he was a part of. And Little Richard was there, and he had a moment of clarity where he took off all his jewellery and threw it into the I suppose the
mighty Hunter River.
The Hunter River. They're going over on the Stockton Ferry.
Isn't that immensely Newcastle? You've got one of the biggest rock stars in history. Like, well, I'll take him to Stockton. We'll go to the wash tub.
I don't know what they were doing over there. Who were they playing towards?
We'll go to the wash tub.
Little Richard. It was. I couldn't. It sounds like a fever dream of mine. Of course, John Laws was there with Little Richard
in Stockton.
When they asked about this, they said, "Oh, is that because he realised that possibly he was a closeted gay man?" Right?
They don't like them in Stockton.
Not John, but it was Little Richard. This was, of course, in the 60s or something of that nature. And then they asked John. They said, "Is this true?" And he says, "Well, he might be, but I'm a very handsome man. And he never paid a pass to me," which I think is very classy. I still can't believe all those people there. He was as big as the Beatles.
Yeah.
And then he was there with John Law. I can't work it out. On a ferry.
It's like sending the Beatles to the General Roberts in Lambton.
Yeah.
There's not much going on there.
I think it was that time where, who's the fellow that died in the airplane?
Michael Hutchins.
John Denver, he died. La Bamba, who was the guy that... Richie Valley, thank you very much, Chevrolet. Yeah, Richie Valens. Valens. So not to be confused with Frankie Valli. And as well as Buddy Holly we lost as well. But apparently the plane...
Didn't the guy from Skyhooks die in a helicopter?
That's right, yeah.
Also Leonard Skinner.
Sort of a plane.
Leonard Skinner as well. We lost on a... No one of these people that can sing should ever go on planes. Remember that, Chevrolet.
Jimmy Croce as well.
Thank you. Another one. We don't ever want you to go on a plane, Chevrolet. Stay grounded for the most part. Now, Liam, it wasn't the kind of game that we wanted to see, especially all those pundits there on a wonderful Sunday afternoon at the Wickham Park Hotel. And I often talk about Gravy City at Wickham Park Hotel, a Sunday roast, delicious as we all know. But I often say it's a place that you go and you love, you meet people and you feel at home there. And a lot of it comes from the people that run the pub. Liam, we live in a time where there's a great city of Newcastle, gets bought out by all these Sydney conglomerates.
The soulless pub corporations, so they're all headquartered there in Sydney. They're buying up our pubs. They're putting the same carpeting in every single one and just turning them into glorified pokey dens.
Yeah.
But you won't get that at the Wickham Park Hotel, no, sir.
And it all starts at the top. The two fellas there, both Steve and Trousseau, they're the two most lovely Novocastrians that you'll ever meet. And they're the kind of people that, yes, you're the licensee, but you're also my mate. And also the people there in the kitchen.
Again, the Wickham Park, it's full of friends you didn't know you had.
That's why I like to go there, and I feel at home there, and I will be returning there, and you can't stop me, Liam McNeil.
I love pubs.
Yeah.
I've got a whole book planned about pubs in Australia. I've got the chapter list written out. There's a few key venues I'm going to spot, and the Wickham Park's in its own chapter.
That sounds like an excuse for you to be writing a book.
It is.
But also
it is
visiting.
an excuse. I've only ever had jobs that are centered on alcohol.
Yes.
That's all I do.
Yeah.
I'm good at it.
And you're drinking water tonight.
I am.
Or is it straight up liquor? I don't know. Speaking of hard liquor and telling stories, Liam, it's time for that segment once again. It's time for the news.
Didn't the newsmen of old love drinking and smoking while doing their job?
Apparently it all did. It wasn't. It would have been wild of a time to rock up to your desk there, your news desk, and think, we've got to get the news out, and just light up a cigarette at your desk.
Yeah, I think Mad Men, if you look at it now through the lens of the modern society, I think they weren't to be the bad men. You're meant to look at the Mad Men and say, oh, you're unethical, you're doing things wrong. Those guys were living the dream.
Yeah.
They were having a great time.
Chauvinists in a suit with very little education, smoking about 20 a day.
And drinking bourbon for breakfast. Yeah, it sounds awesome.
It's a wonderful. You drink. Remember the people that say you got to drink the flu away? Oh, I've got a bit of a cough. They go, why don't you go home and have a good double whiskey?
Yeah.
And that'll clear your system out.
Go visit Dr. Wild Turkey. That was Law's favourite, Wild Turkey. Loves Wild Turkey.
They like that American honey that's been discontinued, and then people call it.
No, it's still very much around.
Is it really?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
No one buys it because it's not very good.
No, it just seems like a lot of sugar in whiskey.
Speaking of things that are not very good, Naggy, this is an interesting one to kick the news off. The NRL, as they are at so many things, are very, very bad at celebrating the past.
Yes.
Now, this week just gone, and we're avid, rugby league enthusiasts. We
are.
keep our ear to the ground when it comes to rugby league. We
Ear
like
to the ground.
Celebrate greatness in rugby league. The NRL doesn't. They just dropped about 50 people in the Hall of Fame.
They did.
And they didn't tell anyone.
No.
They just said, Hall of Fame's open, boys. We're just going to put a bunch of people in. But there was one very notable one that we would like to talk about as big proponents, as we are on the Joust here, big proponents of violent assaults in the confines of a rugby league field.
Oh, the rules. There's rules. Yeah, the rules of the game.
When you step outside the rules, it's generally frowned upon. Again, case-by-case basis. We're happy to, think differently about it. But this one maybe was a bit of an unforgivable one, Naggy.
Leslie Boyd. Leslie Boyd.
Well, I'll tell you, if my parents named me Leslie, I would become a violent thug as well.
Was that his actual name? Was his nickname Les?
A woman's name.
Leslie, I'm sure, is a man's name. It was back in the 80s, Liam, when all men had men like Bruce and Frank. Tell me last time you saw a Frank.
Rod.
You wouldn't mess with a Frank, Liam, not on the footy field. No. Barry is another one there. Barry Gormsill.
Gummersall. Yeah, the famous grasshopper, the referee.
Now, for some of the jousters out there, they might have forgotten about the Les Boyd classic incident. There's a couple, but the main one of he outright elbowed the big man, Dale Broman, during a State of Origin game in the jaw.
And it wasn't like a old school classic sneaky elbow in the ruck. He ran up to him and elbowed him in his head.
Yes, and then of course back in the day, it wasn't even seen right to say, look, what I've done was actually an accident. I'm sorry. Clinton Newton, of course, did it to Ashton Sims, but he said
John Hopewadi did to Keith Galloway,
that's right.
Of course, famously.
And then they would say, look, this wasn't my intention to elbow this man in the face, but Les Boyd came out and said, well, he was lucky.
Well, he said he did him a favour. He said if I hadn't elbowed him, no one would know about it.
No one would know
Which
about
I
it.
disagree, Les.
Now,
I definitely disagree. Broman was an Australian international and would have gone on that year's Kangaroo Tour.
And he also, instead of writing his ways, because rugby league's a game of second chances, of course.
And third and fourth and fifth
chances.
And then he piss in your mouth at the Cronulla Sharks League Club and you're gone.
That's right.
That's straight back to Atherton.
That's the classic exit. Yeah. But the Les has decided a mere 3 games back from his mammoth suspension for elbowing someone.
9 months it was.
9 months out of the game was to do a big old eye gouge, get your eye in the back of the brain.
Oh, they're 2 of the worst things you can do.
Yeah, elbows.
And imagine that, of 24 calendar months.
Yes.
Him as a rugby league professional was only able to play for 3 months of that.
3 of it. Yeah.
That's 1/8 of the time he was available to play.
And the the Rugby League Hall of Fame, whoever's making these decisions, they said, I'm aware that any high tackle now is basically if you brush up over the shoulders and give someone a bit of a slap accidentally, and very apologetic for it, is a penalty and possibly a suspension or a sin bin. But now this grub is going to be in the Hall of Fame forever.
And now this is a Hall of Fame quote from Les Boyd here, responding to Daryl Broman's accusations. He says, "Honestly, I couldn't give a fuck."
Yes.
Like, well, no, you couldn't, because you weren't the man who had your jaw broken and your career derailed, Les.
Well, your elbow might have been a bit sore.
He said he's the one who can't let it go.
Well, of course, he's missing a few teeth in the back. He's
been eating smoothies for the last 40 years.
Yeah,
with much thanks to Les.
We remember the New South Wales now etches himself into representative with Mitch Barnett elbowing. Who was that?
Chris Lewis against the Panthers.
Was it Chris Lewis? I thought it was Smith. Someone was it? No, Chris Lewis. Anyway, and he's elbowed him on the way through, and that was seen as a terrible, terrible act.
Which at the show we were fine with it. We thought it was okay.
We had the time.
Completely derailed the season. But it was fun to watch. It's fun to watch.
So Les Boyd is there in the Hall of Fame, and I've always
apparently no one knows about it because the NRL didn't say anything about
apparently
it.
He's going to be inducted tomorrow.
Yeah.
By the time
There's just a small footnote in this week's Rugby League Week. By the way, we inducted 40 people into the Hall of Fame.
I have some bad news for you, Liam. Rugby League Week has been discontinued.
Shit.
But I do believe
that's when Rugby League died. When the big broadsheet, glossy paper magazines were all put on the internet. They were all put onto websites. It's not the same. You can't read a website on the shitter.
That's right.
Well, you can, but you got to. You got to do this. I just want to sit and be able to rough
it up. Yeah, and then fold it and put it back next to the brush
in
and
that little magazine holder we all used to have. That's when Australia was a real country. When we read literature on the bathroom, on the throne.
Crosswords, maybe some mental games, take you away from the whole process.
We had a big poster on the back of the door with all the flags of the world. So if anyone tries to out-flag me on flag knowledge,
of course,
you're going down. I'll smash you when it comes to the knowledge of the flags of the world.
Do you have a favourite one? Favourite flag?
Look, it's hard to go against the Vatican City's flag. It's pretty cool. It's half white, it's half yellow, and it's got a really cool crest on it.
That's nice.
It's a good flag. Nepal has a really good flag because it's not a rectangle.
Triangular,
it's two triangles.
Two triangles.
And there's a lot you can say about the Swiss flag, but all I will say that it's a big plus.
I always like the Fijian flag, just for the colour. I'd say it's a plus. I get it. We all got it, Liam. Speaking about big pluses, Newtown Jets are making another bid, yet another one.
Famously just made a bid a couple of weeks ago and pulled out when there was another competitor. He said, no, we don't want to borrow this.
Now, famously being a club, they're in reserve grade. They love playing rugby league. They have a huge supporter base there in Newtown. It seemed to be a bit of because Newtown's there. It's not far from Sydney Uni. There's all the students, and they like to wear a Newtown jersey and say, hey, I've been in Sydney since 1986. Well, Newtown, love it.
It's the longing for nostalgia. Our generation longs for a nostalgia that we weren't a part of because we've been beaten down so much by the generation above us that we yearn for this golden past that they had.
Golden
where,
age,
university was free, house cost $5, and
go down to the pub, get a full long neck, just drink it at the bar.
Absolutely, and they paid you for the privilege to do it.
Yeah,
that was a golden time that all of us millennials we don't know. So we yearn for the nostalgia of those days.
So they failed on their bid, but they decided to because they said, "Hang on a second, we're a jet, we're a plane.
There's another plane team in rugby league. Why don't we combine?
We can start a fleet. Is that a fleet of jets? So
yes,
it's a fleet of jets. Yeah. So the
squadron, perhaps.
Squadron might be a better way to describe it. And then, of course, if there's two jets, then they might say the NRL has to say, well, there's two of them now.
What do you think they named sports teams before the advent of the jet aircraft?
Well, it has to be the biplane.
The Newtown turboprops.
The single props over there.
They're the Balmain biplanes. I think we're onto something.
Balmain biplanes, of course. Yes. Yeah. Well,
but it'll be interesting to see the Jets/Ipswich Jets proposal because Ipswich famously are in the QRL.
Are the brothers still doing
the Jets in the New South Wales?
The Walker brothers. I know there's 12 of them, but I think 2 of them have gotten together. And
they coached the Jets for a bit. I think they won the comp playing very unusual football at the time.
Baseball style, yeah. Very aggressive. They the short kickoffs and they needed possession all.
Well, that was it. It was revolutionary and it was amazing until the other teams worked it out, and then it was shit.
Yeah, and everyone's like, actually,
it was pretty bad.
They realised that their idea couldn't be copyrighted, and everyone could just go, hang on, we could just do that.
But I think the Jets really have found their niche as a reserve. We discussed this with the Bears debacle. The Bears coming. The Jets have found their niche as a community-minded, reserve-grade organisation.
Yeah.
Not so much an organisation as an organism.
Yes.
Newtown is
It's alive.
It's alive. Yeah.
yeah.
It's a living, breathing jet.
I can't think if it's just the actual jet itself. They don't mind where if it's in Ipswich or Newtown.
Yeah.
Why don't we just call the next team the Jets, but put them wherever the hell we want?
Well, that's it. Are we going to have the Dolphins debacle all over again? I don't know where the Dolphins are from. Dolphins are everywhere all over the earth. Northern
course.
Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere, Atlantic, Pacific, Indian Ocean, the Southern Ocean.
A few of them are in SeaWorld, and that's quite close to Redcliffe. But of course, they're in captivity.
Yeah.
Much like the players themselves. They can't leave. But it's also like the Bears, the North Sydney Bears. They all go to North Sydney Bears, watch the game. They love it over there.
Never seen a bear there.
Yeah, never seen a bear. No, I think we're very, very few.
No.
But
You
then
have to go a bit closer to Oxford Street to catch up with the Bears.
you went to Perth, Liam. Are there any bears in Perth?
Not that I saw, but again, I didn't go out into the scrub much.
They're elusive characters,
They
the
are.
Bears. There might be one hiding.
Yeah. It's too hot. Too hot.
We look forward to the Perth Bears. Liam, now one of our favourite players that are much maligned, they're Latrell Mitchell. You're a big fan. I'm a big fan. Gee, it's hard to be a fan.
Yeah, we've been Latrell defenders for so long, but as you said, he makes it really, really hard to defend him at times. Latrell Mitchell does. As a human being,
Yes.
I think he's wonderful. All
Wonderful.
the work he does off the field, especially with Indigenous youth, is unparalleled. It's
Yes.
truly wonderful. But then he does things like trying to murder Joseph Manu.
Of course.
He does things like doing white powder activities with his teammates' mothers, apparently.
Apparently
It
the mothers,
Some
yeah.
of the things he does, Naggy, that just make you think, Latrell, why, buddy? Why?
Now, at this point, he's been caught with leading over a plate of white powder. He could just be looking at it very, very closely. I don't know if he had his
Well,
contacts
he had to
in.
go through the Omo and make sure that it's all very fine grade Omo.
That's right.
You don't want to be washing laundry with clumps in your Omo.
The man's doing some laundry.
Yeah.
Leave him alone.
He's like, is this good for a front loader or a top loader? I can't tell.
The packet's gone. We've put it on a plate.
Remember when we were growing up, you had to use hot water to clean everything. Everything was hot water. It kills bacteria. And then all of a sudden, cold power came out.
Cold power.
Like, oh no, cold's the best water to be washing clothes in.
Apparently so.
Like, who made that decision? When did that change? From
It's the-
hot being good to cold being
Is the
good?
colour. Your colours will run in the hot. It's so good at cleaning, actually cleans the colour out of the clothes. Everyone's going to be walking around in a very bland brown because of the colour
Which is
just
what
run.
the Latrell detractors hate.
If we look here, though, Liam, there's actually the slide just before this.
Yeah.
We have the real problem that I think has been coming up in all these issues with rugby league players.
Cruisers.
That's the cruisers, of
Yeah.
course. It's the cruisers,
They're
breezers.
the real blight on society, the Alcapops.
Alcapops Tax actually was doing a rugby league a great service by making them more expensive, by keeping them away from the players, because it seems like all the white powder incidents, if you're going to be enjoying a bit of white powder, doing your laundry, etc., having a good hard look at it, you're also going to be having a delicious proper strawberry raspberry
But
sort
in
of a
this
flavour.
day and age, the only people who can afford both Alcapops and a bag of cocaine are very highly paid
players.
athletes.
Yeah, of course.
And we can't say it's just a rugby league problem. No,
No.
sir. I wouldn't dream of saying that. But you and I go out, we'll split a bottle of Bowler's Run and try and scrounge some powder up off the floor at King Street.
Of
That's
course,
all we can
or
afford.
to scrape it up. That's what I've always said. So it's a bit mucky by that point.
Yeah.
You're getting a bit of bits and bobs in it. Maybe broken glass and
I remember I
whatnot.
worked with a bar manager once. He'd run a bar in Toronto. Not Toronto, New South Wales, but Toronto, Canada.
Canada.
And the problem was so bad that they would rub Vaseline all over the top of the toilets at the
Yes.
start of the night. And so when you put your white powder on there, it just absorbs into the Vaseline.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, that's very, very clever of them. And also terrible for the economy. Or
And-
great for the economy. It creates more
You gotta buy
spending.
more,
You
yeah.
gotta buy more.
Not good for fun, though.
We also have
Are they going to ban fun?
Yeah,
What is this,
possibly.
the small town from Footloose?
I wish the NRL was more separated from white powder incidents. Of course, we had Brandon Smith with
Yep.
his good mate Cameron Munster. Both
Reece Walsh.
Reece Walsh,
Yeah.
another Queenslander, Valentine Holmes as well. And again, what is he holding there? Another Alcopop. they can't be stopped, Liam.
And then, of course, the famed Queenslanders, Caitlin Ponga and Kurt Mann with the infamous toilet cubicle
Yes.
incident.
Yeah.
No white powder was found. Maybe they were just having a quick root. I don't know.
Jesse Bromwich as well as Kevin
Proctor was with him at the time.
Now, neither of those men are from Queensland, but
Well-
they were certainly living in Queensland.
And you'll notice it is not good New South Wales boys who have been doing these things. Who led Latrell astray? But this comes down to, Nagy, one of my other great bugbears about the game.
Yes.
Rugby league's not a game anymore. Rugby
No.
league is a business. In the past, when rugby league was a game, it was just let the boys have fun.
Yes.
But now it's a business. The clubs are saying we don't want our players to tarnish the business
Soap
of it
opera,
all.
yeah.
Business is what led to the death of City Country. Business is what led to the death of the Anzac Test.
Yeah.
Business has driven international rugby league into the ground, and now business of rugby league is saying to our players, you're not allowed to have fun because we want to extract the maximum amount of value out of you that we can. Is this my week's crackdown, Naggy?
I think Liam might have a
As a
crackdown.
good communist boy, I'm cracking down on private ownership in rugby league. The game should be owned by the people.
It wouldn't be a week of the Joust without Liam having a crackdown. We got a crackdown on the cruisers, and crackdown on the business.
Go the opposite. Crack down on not letting the boys have the cruises.
By the business.
Yeah.
The business of
Crack down on the businesses. The game for the people should be owned by the people. The production of... No, I can't remember.
That's right.
I haven't read Karl Marx in years.
It's the capitalist thugs that are really taking this game away. Liam's speaking about thugs biting on the field. Biting by Kyle Flanagan found guilty.
He's already made into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
First ballot.
He's put his hand up. He's put his teeth out. They said he didn't bite him, even though what he really meant is I didn't intentionally bite him, although I did close my mouth with my teeth, with his nose,
He
in
just
the mouth.
happened to have the nose in there.
Yeah, a
There
bit
was,
of
if
flesh.
anything, and we've discussed this at length, it was Stephen Crichton's fault. He never should have put his nose there.
No, that's a terrible place to put a nose.
Yeah.
Said it for years. He's recovered. I believe Stephen Crichton will be playing.
He bit him so hard, he'll have no chance of doing any Omo
That's
anytime
right.
in the future.
If anything, he should be thanking him and say, thanks, I can't do it. If I do it up now, it goes straight at the top.
Well, see, that was the problem as well. Daryl Broman, broken jaw. All he could eat was just cruises. He just ate cruises through a straw every night.
You do hear about people blending food because they broke their jaw. It sounds
Regan
awful.
Campbell Gillard, I remember, broke his jaw a few
Twice,
years
I
ago.
think. He
and
broke it, rebroke it
he
again.
was making like KFC milkshakes, I remember him saying. You get some popcorn chicken, some potato and gravy, chuck it in the blender, and then somehow put it down your mouth. That
Is
sounds
that
terrible.
a bit of a salt mush, really? Yeah, I think that's all we... Well, I tell you what, because the food is your food. but your body...
Very, very astute observation.
But you see it, it looks delicious. Oh, that texture, that's wonderful. But by the time it goes anywhere past your
it's
teeth,
basically a milkshake now.
it's basically a milkshake. Really, it's just cutting out the middleman. It's just cutting out it's all salt mush by one point.
Which is one of the great things in rugby league, having a middleman. Everyone in rugby league has a middleman.
Your stomach doesn't know any different, let alone your esophagus.
Yeah.
They just think everything's salt mush or sweet mush. That's all they get.
That's all life is, a series of mushes varying from salt to sweet to umami to sour. Life's just one big long mush.
The invention of blenders, Liam, really is just that. Just showed people what your stomach's getting every time. The stomach goes, I thought they all had blenders up there. Liam, speaking of Valentine Holmes, the man with the white powder and the cruiser in hand, the Dragon said, I like the cut of your jib. Can you bite a few people? We're signing you.
And Val said, yes, I already bit a plastic bag with white powder in my mouth.
Yes, yeah. Well, I've sent it on Snapchat.
Yeah.
It's ready to go. He's going to go to the Dragons as well as Damien Cook, I believe. Has that already been announced as
I'll
well?
tell you, for an incumbent Origin and Test player, this has kind of been a bit of so.
Yeah.
Val Holmes signs with the Dragons. Cool. I guess.
Scores a
Why not?
scores a hat trick on the weekend, and
Of course he did. Why not?
yeah, there they said he says, I don't really want to go, but I had to.
Yeah.
The Dragons got lots of money. The Cowboys don't have much money, and they said, okay, we're going to let you go. Daniel Saifidi, Damien Cook, as well as Valentine Holmes go to the
Was
Dragons.
Saifidi confirmed,
No,
or
it's
was that just
basically,
murmuring?
yeah.
Was that
Well,
just a middleman in there?
I believe he's-
saying, Daniel, would you like the salt mush of St George, or would you prefer the salty?
Salty
the
mush,
sweet mush of Newcastle.
Sweet mush.
Last thing Daniel Safidi said was the ball was in his court.
Oh, the ball's in the court of Daniel Saifidi. Well, he could potentially stay and say, sweet mush, he
And
could
you know what?
say.
The NRL are probably going to put that ball under the salary cap.
Yeah.
And then you've got yourself an extra steed in there, mate. You're over the cap. Let's get rid of you.
Liam, we're going to take a halftime break and we're going to be right back talking everything Newcastle Knights and that terrible loss against the Sharks.
Oh God. Fuck.
Fucking Sharks.
Welcome back to the second half of the Joust. Now in the break, Chevrolet Chase, you mentioned of all this nose biting. You mentioned that you've had a bit of a nose bitten experience where you had some stitches. Is that right?
That is very true. When I was 11 years old, so a very long time ago, 1996,
Yes.
I believe.
Yep.
I was playing Kill the Dill with the Pill, that great old game,
Yes.
with some friends and not friends of mine.
Schoolyard, was it? Was it in the schoolyard?
Yeah, it was in a very like secluded part of the schoolyard, you know, where the teachers couldn't see.
Behind the sports shed.
Yeah. So I was quite small back then, so I would have been like, I'm not the muscular physique that I have today, obviously.
Yes.
But yeah, I
did you have the pill? Did you?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay.
So you weren't the dill.
No, I was attempting to kill the dill.
Right.
And I was slung by said dill into another fellow who was also trying to kill the dill, and his tooth went into my nose, and I had to have 3 stitches.
Stitches in the nose. Nostril? Would it split the nostril?
No, it didn't even hurt. I felt just kind of like a tap to the nose.
Tap to the nose.
And the guy who that was Shane Flanagan.
Shane Flanagan. It happened to be a hereditary biter.
See,
apparently.
we should have known that if a man carries out an act of violence, that his son would carry out the same act all those years ago. But now, as someone who experienced that, do you put the blame now on Stephen Crichton or Kyle Flanagan? Because you were in a similar situation. Was it your fault?
Yeah.
After many years of therapy, I've learned not to victim blame. And I definitely have to say that it is the biter. It's always the biter.
Don't stick your nose where it doesn't belong, apparently, Chevrolet.
Love that little secluded area of the playground that every school had where you'd be playing tackle footy and then you'd see a teacher and it's, touch. Everyone quick,
Touch. It definitely won't take. It goes 2-hand touch into a bit of a grab.
Like
Actually, we were all sort of whispering, telling each other what the story was. Oh no, we're playing AFL.
AFL. Very good.
Because we were allowed to play AFL as long as it wasn't, because you weren't getting tackled.
Which is effectively the same game. Rugby league AFL killed the deal with the pill.
And we are huge fans on this show of blaming the AFL for any of life's slightest kind of inconveniences, I think.
I think so. Liam, unfortunately, it wasn't the time of... I feel like, Liam, if I'm going to talk about this game against the Sharks.
Yeah, we do.
We went down there. We hadn't won down there in 10 years. And we packed our bags. We got on the bus.
And in the worst years of the Knights, it always seemed like the Sharks were doing the most damage. I remember there was a game at Marathon Stadium. I think it was the worst Spoon year.
Yeah.
We got there...
2016.
We're waiting in line. We hear the whistle for the kickoff. And then we hear a bunch of people cheering. And we're like, must have been a good kickoff. No, Sharks have scored. Walked in there with about 3 minutes on the clock. The Sharks were already up 6-0.
6-0. And that didn't stop at all because it remained nil.
60-something, didn't it?
The Knights didn't bother the scoreboard keeper at all. He had nothing to do. But the other scoreboard keeper that was for the Sharks, was working. He was climbing the ladder and changing the numbers all day.
Well, you see, the Knights thought they were playing kill the deal with the pill, so they just tried to tackle the ball man with the pill, and then just forgot about everyone else.
They didn't realise. No. They didn't realise that they could be passed to anyone.
Yeah.
But Liam, we had a very, very different game where we said if only we could be competitive. But Liam, I felt like we lost this game 3 times.
Oh, so many times we lost the game. It hurt so much more every time it happened as well.
The first 10 minutes of this game would be up there with the season on the line. But some of the worst Newcastle Knights performances that I've ever seen.
Well, that did throw me back to those 2016 Sharks games. I thought 2 tries in the first 7 minutes. We are on one here. We are on one.
Now, Atkinson there for the Sharks, playing extremely well. Looks like he had the ball on a string. I said, cut the string, everyone. I said, get rid of the string. He's too good.
And it was especially impressive from Atkinson, given that he was basically the only Sharks half.
It was.
They named Brayley at halfback. He played hooker. They named Cam McInnes as a sort of middle forward ball player. But essentially, it was Atkinson pulling the strings all night.
And he pull them. And especially that first 10 minutes, I think the Newcastle Knights had a list of different ways that they could be disadvantaged that game.
It was a big list too. It was a really long list.
They were, tell you what, efficient with getting through that list in the first 10 to 12 minutes by saying, okay, I want someone to drop it. I want to be penalised for being offside. I want to be penalised for a high tackle. I want to be taken out of the field with the ball in the first tackle. It was everything all at once. And everything that you was like watching, your favourite pub burn down. God forbid the Wickham Park Hotel ever burns down.
I'd cry myself to sleep every day till the day I died.
But it was like that, watching, how could this all happen again? This is so much pressure, but somehow, Liam, we managed to claw our way back up there and be competitive.
Well, that's it. I think Kyle McCarthy maybe was the sacrificial lamb in the first 10 minutes. Of course, it was his error that led to
Who?
the length of the field try.
Kyle who?
Kyle McCarthy.
I don't think anyone was very familiar with this man when he was named.
Yeah, no, they don't tell you, but he's a foreigner. Born in Hong Kong, Kyle McCarthy, so maybe that's why.
Hong Kong McCarthy, they call him.
They do. They do.
He's literally born in Hong Kong, wasn't he?
Actually related to Chopstick Craigie.
Chopstick Craigie,
Yeah.
Hong Kong McCarthy, they're all there in a gang, they call it. But I was surprised to see that with Dylan Lucas there with a lower groin injury, upper groin actually, because it's
upper middle?
upper middle groin
Yeah.
injury, and so he was.
Again, we're not medical professionals.
Not medical
This is not,
professionals.
the most technical of terms.
That's right.
We have
but
to estimate which groin it is. We're just guessing.
the season on the line, and we said, it's going to be Kyle McCarthy, number 22, the Hong Kong McCarthy. It sounds like he's on the Hong Kongs. I don't think we can cast that kind of aspersions of him. But he.
I think you already did, mate.
But also, I was thinking to myself, I was like, hang on a second, we've unearthed David Armstrong, Davey from the Navy, and then we
Probably will be for life.
Yeah, probably will be for life, and as well as Fletcher Sharp,
Third best fullback in the NRL.
and then I thought, hang on a second, we've got another one coming here. He's going to be great. Drops the ball in his first touch, which is a bit of a baptism of fire. He was coming up against Jesse Ramian.
That was such a hard edge. I felt that was a baptism of fire. You've got Britton Nickera, arguably the best line-running second rower in the comp. You've got Jesse Ramian, a proper powerhouse of a centre.
Yeah.
And centre's a really hard position to defend in. Because
is.
you've got three options to defend. You've got said almost best back rower in the comp.
Yep.
You've got one of the most powerful centres in the comp. And then outside him, you've got Ronaldo Multar. No.
Yes, yeah, that's
Am I
correct.
getting the
I
sides
believe,
right?
I possibly.
No, Ronaldo was on Fletcher Sharp's
On the other side.
So it was Sione Katoa. Also a very good power winger.
But typically you're there defending with possibly a half on your inside, possibly a back row. But you have to, these centres back rowers, they have to be working as a well-oiled machine. And the Knights,
machine wasn't oiled at all.
It wasn't oiled at all. It was rusty. If you look there at the end of the game, the possession. Now, this could have been a game where we spoke about how good the Knights was in scrambling defence once we got all the list done
Well, that's
of the
it.
ways to give up the ball.
There was so much fantastic defence to be talked about, but the only reason there was so much fantastic defence was the Knights just completely fell to bits in about the 65th minute.
That's
perhaps,
right, yeah.
I think it was. We got out to a strong lead after initially coming out and getting the pants beaten off us in the first 10 minutes. The Knights wrestled the game back.
Surprising
through possession, through strength, through high completions. And then at the 65th minute, they said, we haven't ticked everything else off the list. We haven't ticked off lose the game yet.
Lose the game. Drop the ball 4 times in a row.
There was that 10-minute period where there was one completed set from 4 attempts.
4 or 5, it wasn't great. We were all in the same area of the field, prime attacking position. We managed just to wrestle the ball back with the first try to a player that has been pretty solid all this year, KPP, with his go-go gadget arm.
It was finally good to see KPP realise that he has such immense length to use. He has that length about him. And I've spoken a lot about KPP this year. I'm very happy with him. I think he's great. I think he's wonderful.
Young fella.
Young boy. Young lengthy boy. And to see him get his first try from Huddersfield, I thought was really a fitting reward.
Yes,
fitting
finally.
reward.
Yeah, he didn't look like he should have scored, but he just extended it out and he said, hang on a second, my arm's 16 feet long. I can score from here. And then he just puts it over. And everyone said, he got it. Okay, we're back.
Well, the commentators at the time, they're like, no one can reach that far.
No,
no one's got arms quite like that they can do it. Little did they know, in Huddersfield, they breed them different, mate.
He stretched it out. He nearly put it in the first row. He said, hang on a second, I've got to bring it back a bit, and then put it down. So that was a surprise, but it was good to see. And then we actually saw some really, really clean backline movement there to see Greg the Bus go over.
Well, now that was a great example of Mick Ennis somehow accidentally being right.
Yes.
What the Knights got to do, the Knights have to get the ball to Coyle and Ponga.
He said, I used to play. I won a premiership in 2016, and I tell you what they got to do.
And lo and behold, they give Kalen Ponga the ball 3 times in an attacking set. We score. He gives the pass out on the right to get Fletcher Sharp out around Ronaldo Mulatalo. swings back to the left, throws the cutout pass for Greg Buss to score the try.
Greg the
That
Bus.
was beautiful.
And when you've got Greg the Bus strolling over, you know you have an overlap because he needs an overlap and a half.
He
And you need to lap it again. You know.
He needs the whole shoulder along the F3 to go around someone.
That's right. And so he got a bit of momentum, put the ball down, only for his 7th try of the year. 20 tries last year. We're really lacking in scoring points.
Terrible. We're the worst at it in the NRL, I
We
think.
certainly are.
Yeah.
But it was certainly a game that I felt like once we lost that, but it came up to half-time, Liam. Came up to half-time. And
Phoenix did a whoopsie.
Phoenix did a whoopsie by simply making a tackle and laying on it a bit long. Now, this was our 3rd penalty of the game, and they decided that should be a penalty, but hang on a second, you're wasting a bit of time. Should it be a penalty? Probably, but hang on a second, the hands have gone up. He set him to 10.
Well, now, at the time when the decision was made,
Yeah.
I saw it coming. As soon as Jared Sutton blew the whistle, I said, shit, Phoenix is going here, because it was, let's be honest,
Yes.
a very cynical play.
Yes.
It was something silly you do at the end of the half that you rightly probably should be sent off for. So
You probably-
I wasn't angry at the decision nor
Okay.
at the decision maker. I was angry at our boy Phoenix Crossfield Bomland.
Now,
Being
Liam,
cynical. You
I'm
don't
gonna-
like cynicism. on
I'm
the
going
show.
to ask you a question. If that number 7 happened to be number 7 for the Panthers, Nathan Cleary laying on a tackle a bit much,
He would have received a penalty in his favour.
does he get sent to the bin?
Not in a million years.
So it's simply a referee, which is Gerard Satan, getting his little grubby fingers all over the game. Now, Liam,
Little grubby fingers.
Thank you very much, Chevrolet. His little grubby fingers of the little fat man that happens to be Gerard Sutton decided in round 24 that this is going to be the time that he puts his stamp right on the game and says, no, I'm going to set some precedents here. We've got some new rules.
Who let him have the stamp in the first place?
Yeah. We're going to beat down this team that shouldn't win. So we're going to send off the halfback, for 10 minutes, which will be 10 minutes of the second half. They really shouldn't be in front. This doesn't sound right, so we'll give them the penalty and lose a player for 10 minutes. Now, he wasn't finished, Liam, because...
Well, no, let's just go back to this 10-minute period first.
Yeah.
Because this was 10 minutes where I thought the Knights are going to win this game because they managed it masterfully. Got a penalty, took the 2.
Yeah.
Kalen Ponga somehow managed to waste 3 minutes taking that 2-point penalty
I
kick.
love it, yep,
So
yep.
it was superb gamesmanship. It was
He
great captaincy.
He took the space and
Took
they
the
said,
space.
no, hang on, you're going to go back. He was like, well, I didn't realise that. The mark that you gave me happened to be the mark that I had to kick it from.
Yeah.
Wink, wink to the audience. It was wonderful to see from Kalen.
And then, of course, the Knights possessed the ball for a lot of that 10-minute period,
Yep.
including scoring 1 try.
To Dane Gagai.
Yeah.
Dane Gagai. Now, it's not only Dane Gagai who happened to score the try, but there was also a certain player that we'd like to give a bit of a commendation for hats off for this week.
Hats off. Hats off. Hats off. Hats off. Hats off.
I don't have a hat this week.
I'm hats offing for 2, Joust, because Naggy forgot his.
I forgot my hat.
You said your hairline's receding a bit more. Yeah, I don't think it is.
It is.
He's got such a beautiful head of hair. I don't know if it comes across on the visual
Every
media.
man knows their hair is where it's at certain times and when it's...
You're born, you sprout hair, and then it's just a countdown.
Yeah. You're born, you have your hand on your dick and your finger up your nose and get taller. Basically, that's a man's life. And
What a life it is.
Dane Gagai for you, Liam. How was Dane? What stood out for you?
Well, Dane Gagai played a proper veterans game. He grabbed the boys by the scruff and he said, that's all right, we can do this. We can win this. Yeah. And it was a really interesting battle between Dane Gagai, our very favourite Newcastle Knight, and Siosifa Talakai for the Sharks. That was just 2 powerhouses going at each other. 2 men who are so hard to tackle, just duking it out. You don't often see proper centre battles much these days, but that was a great one. Because both of them also stuffed up a fair bit and missed some tackles. But I thought Dane Gagai was very, very deserving of a hats off this week. And it was a veterans knock.
Remembering your game that you went to 8 years ago when we lost 60-0, I believe it would only be Dane Gagai and Jacob Saifidi that might have been part of that squad.
Dan Saifidi wouldn't have?
Sorry, Dan Saifidi, not Jacob Saifidi. Jacob Saifidi.
Wouldn't both of them? Oh, yeah.
Potentially both, yeah. So it was...
Well, there's no way to tell because they look exactly the same.
They look exactly the same. There might only be one of them. We're not really sure if there are actually twins, or they just decide they want to play 80 minutes.
Yeah.
There is my hats off. Liam is back to Fletcher 4 tries.
Yep. Oh, we got a new name for him this week, though.
Oh, of course, that's right.
Fletcher 0 tries.
Fletcher 0 tries.
Still good, though.
But it was a game that I still think he looks at home in the wing. He was making breaks. If it was when the team was really buggered, it seemed like that he was going to break the game wide open. He looks fast.
The one issue I had with Fletcher's game was the second Sharks try came directly from an error from Fletcher Sharp. However, the error wasn't really his fault. He was absolutely belted by Blake Brayley, who can tackle. He's good. I think we got the wrong Brayley.
But also, there was he had to make a tackle on, because I think a lot of people thought Fletcher Sharp, smaller man, zippy, but he's got to come up against zippity doodah, coming up against these big wingers like Mulatalo. Can he handle them? And he nearly threw him out.
He was so close to handling him.
Millimetre throwing him out. Bobbled the ball as well. That wasn't looked at.
Now, Naggy, do you find that was a controversial bobble that maybe went on? Because at the time I watched all the replays.
Yes.
It looked like he did transfer the ball from one hand to the other, but it didn't look like the ball contacted the ground or Fletcher Sharp in the transferal. So I wasn't too upset, but then I saw a lot of people upset by it on the Monday after the game, and I was a bit miffed.
I'm going to reverse the roles for you. Fletcher Sharp goes over the line. Mulatalo is about to throw him out, and he bobbles the ball. That's a no try. That's a no try. They say, they don't deserve it. It seemed like with the home crowd there,
big city ivory tower boys just deciding they're playing the NRL like marionettes. They're saying, we want such and such to win, or we want this to happen, or we want Sydney boys to succeed. We don't want the plucky underdogs from the dead steel mining town of Newcastle to win.
Coming up there.
We want our Shire fancy boys.
Yeah, look at what they've done with the Leagues Club. How much money do these people have?
Apparently a lot.
They're building a city around it.
They've developed a whole city around Shark Park, which I think is a great idea. If I could live next to Marathon Stadium, I'd pay any amount of money.
Where's that money? Why are we building apartments there? I noticed near there, the Broadmeadow shopping centre there, everything's gone. Richie's IGA is gone. Subway's gone.
Well, that was your local shopping centre for a while now.
It
was kind of your spiritual home, that Subway.
Everything, That Subway.
Singo's Meats was there.
I think Singo's is still hanging on.
Good.
But it seems like
one of Newcastle's great independent businesses.
Possibly will we see apartments there, people living there full time.
Well, you would know when you're walking from the stadium across that patch of grass in Broadmeadow to Macca's.
Yes.
If it's wet, you are sinking. It's quicksand. You can't build houses there.
Well, no.
It's an entire plain of quicksand.
Maybe if they start with 15 stories and then 5 of them sink, it's all right.
Yeah,
you'll eventually got to hit bedrock. I've always said it. Some of them might be underground, drowning. I don't know.
But of course, when we take the hat off, Naggy, the hat has to go back on. I think we've sort of foreshadowed this returning of the hat.
With their hats back on for this week.
Yeah, your hat is back on.
It was such a swift return of the hat to the head too, wasn't it? The fall from grace, the likes which we've rarely seen.
The man, Phoenix Crossfield Bomland, which has come into the halfback role with a bit of excitement, the same way they came with the hooker role last year. Our very own Rob Costa there at the back has mentioned before that he was playing so great at hooker, and then they decided he was playing so well, we better take him out of that position and put him at halfback.
As is great tradition of the Knights.
And so he was playing halfback, and he's always been a bit zippy. We've been used to Jackson Hastings sort of mulling around and doing more crab-like, very,
sort of
very
bobbles.
slow.
He blunders around a bit, Jackson Hastings.
He's a blunderer.
Like when he has a run, it looks like he's kind of just about to fall over.
Yes.
He never seems to get out of second gear accidentally.
So looking at that, Phoenix looks good, but he dropped the ball at a crucial time. He got sin binned, even though that worked out for us, and then he missed the field goal, and it just seemed to be too much. I'm sorry, Phoenix, we have to put the hat back onto you because you played like garbage. It was a garbage game for Phoenix. I think everyone would say it's probably his worst. Not out of not trying. It's just everything he tried didn't work.
Yeah,
that's
always been Phoenix's thing. He always tries.
Yeah,
sometimes trying isn't good enough. I rewatched Empire Strikes Back the other week with my beautiful wife, and of course Yoda. Famous line: "There is no try. It was only do.
Do and do not.
That's do and do not.
Yeah,
That's a
of
really
course.
bad way to look at the world. You have to try.
You have to
We
try.
named the main scoring play
a try.
a try.
Yeah, you know, it's not a do.
Well, it's like when you think about it, because we were discussing this with the sin bin the other day. There's rugby league terms that you say them, you know what they are,
Yes.
but you don't think about where they came from. Why is it called a try? What are you trying to do? You're succeeding.
Yes.
You're not trying to score. If you are awarded a try, you have scored. You
Yes.
did.
Why are you going into the bin? Do you have, is it an actual
Is
bin?
there
No,
a
you just
wheelie
go
bin
back-
on the side of the. I don't know. It seems to me that a lot of rugby league words are just silly words that we don't really think about the implication.
A lot of the joy that we've got in the last few months or weeks are when the Knights, Newcastle, the Newcastle men's side hasn't been playing particularly well.
Mate, we've got to discuss the controversy in Golden Point, though.
Ah, look,
field goal
I'm sorry, I
controversy,
forgot
yeah.
the grubby little fingers.
Yeah.
Yes. So Gerard Sutton.
little finger.
Thank you, Chevrolet. There is, he decided that it wasn't enough for him to already do the sin binning. He said, hang on a second, I want to implement this blocking. Anyone that's got a block. And then Kalen Ponga has gone for the field goal. Did he kick it?
No, he missed. I saw
He
a still
missed it?
frame that it actually went to the right of the post, ever so slightly.
Can someone tell me if he's missed the kick? The ball goes back to the Sharks anyway.
7 tackle set.
So why does it have to be a penalty against?
Because Gerard Sutton decided his grubby little fingers were more important than the rules of the game. But I will say now, this the entire controversy around this annoys me because that would indicate that the Knights deserved to win the game.
Yes.
The Knights did not deserve to win the game.
Potentially.
And before Gerard Sutton even blew the whistle on that blocking play,
Yeah.
I'd given up because who were the two? It was Matt Croker and Red Mist, perhaps.
Possibly.
The second the play the ball happened, they raced straight into where they were standing as blockers. As soon as they
Stood
took those
still.
2 steps,
Yeah.
I said, that's it. This is not happening.
Yeah.
The Knights are not going to kick a field goal here, and the Knights are going to lose the game. And so I wasn't angry that the decision was made in a controversial sense. I was angry because it was so dumb. It was so dumb. They knew exactly what they were doing. They knew exactly that it was outside the rules of the game, and yet still just did it. And that's what made me angry, Naggy. Not that there was a controversial decision.
Yes.
It was that the Knights did the dumb thing.
They did.
They did the dumb thing, and I knew as soon as they did it, this is not happening. The Knights aren't going to win this game.
They threw it
and
away.
then the Sharks did the dumb thing.
They did it.
So the dumb things even themselves out.
They did.
You know, but... And then throwing it to Phoenix Crossland for the second attempted field goal.
Yeah.
Come on, boys.
Come on, fellas.
That 10-minute period where the Knights just couldn't hold the ball and allowed Cronulla back into the game is going to be at the end of the year when we say, where did it all go wrong in the season? I am going to point to that 10-minute period.
Speaking of, Liam, that comes to our segment, where did it all go wrong?
Where did it all go wrong? Where did it all go wrong?
That 10-minute period was a masterclass in how to throw a whole season away. They didn't just throw the game away. They threw away anything that happened this season. All the good that happened, also the bad, is now
Yes.
for naught
Yeah.
because of that stupid 10-minute period where they said, we're going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. We're going to pick up a bunch of rocks, throw it at the baby. We'll maybe throw a car at the baby.
Baby's in
And
the basket, it
The baby's
sinks.
in the basket.
Yeah.
It sinks into the quicksand of Broadmeadow. They threw it that far.
Yeah.
And that,
The baby can swim, though. The baby's not dead. No.
babies float. They're very good at swimming.
Great-
They're notably
great
very good at
floaters.
swimming. Like Moses when he put the baby in the reeds.
No, he did wonderful things.
Great things, Moses. Yeah. Why hear a bad word against old Moses? But yeah, that 10-minute period to me might be the angriest I've been all season. The Knights had played so well to maintain the lead. They'd done everything right. And then just decided to stop doing right things.
If we're looking at the ladder now, Liam, and the 2 delicious points that fell through our fingers, and now there's
They
only
didn't fall through the fingers. We threw them.
We threw them on the fingers.
Threw them on the ground.
like smashed eggs. And it was really now we don't have enough points to make the 8, except for Alan Turing, who's been calling the show and said possibly we do. If the Dragons happen to lose 3, the Dolphins lose 2, the Broncos lose 2, potentially we might make it.
We've got the boffins at the
They're
Large
all working.
Hadron Collider working on it for us.
12, man. They're all be on typewriters with whiteboards. And it seems like the season has been lost at this point. But if we're looking back also, there's some terrible losses against the Brisbane Broncos. Even that first loss against Canberra Raiders, which I think everyone thought we were going to win. And so where did it all go wrong? Possibly much, much earlier than it did recently. However, looking forwards, not backwards. Backwards, not forwards.
Twirling, always
twirling. We can only look at the South Sydney Rabbitohs, who luckily
Are bad as well.
who happen to be falling into a larger, more deeper pile of shit than the Newcastle Knights Club happens
It's
to
a
be.
huge pile of Omo they've collapsed into.
Now, last year they barely made they missed out in the finals, but I think they finished 9th.
They were leading the comp at round 12 or
12,
13,
something like
I
that. And they
think.
fell
Yeah.
right down, and everyone thought, they just got to. They've signed Jack White, and it's all going to be good. Hell of a fall again. Like the Newcastle Knights has fallen from 5th to probably about 12. The Rabbitohs have fallen from 9th down to 16th. I don't know how many teams there are anymore. But is this a game that we can win, Liam?
Well, again, I would have said last week yes, but now I just don't know anymore. I have no idea. Genuinely don't know what's going to happen. Will the Knights come out and say, there's no chance we can make the finals now. Let's play good rugby league. Or there's the chance that they say, we've already got our tickets booked to our off-season vacation in Bali, which will be Brad Mabest going over there to build an entire village just out of anger. He'll go over there angry and he'll say, I'm building a new village.
A whole new village.
Yeah, fuck you all. It's my village.
Does the craftsmanship suffer?
Possibly. I think when he's angry, it actually gets better.
Well, yeah, spite is one of, and people don't discuss this often enough. Spite is a great motivator in life. So many of the great things in life and in history, in the universe, have happened out of spite.
When things have gone wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. They made penicillin in the Civil War. Like when everyone's limbs were getting blown off and infections were running riot.
What an America-centric view of the world when we discuss the Civil War. That's the one we go straight to. We don't think about the Spanish Civil War in the late 1930s. You don't think about the English Civil War in 1066.
Dismantled the monarchy.
Yeah, they did.
But Liam, we're not playing for finals, either the Bunnies or the Newcastle Knights, but we have two things to look forward to. And
We're not even playing for pride anymore. After that performance against the Sharks, we're not playing for pride. We're playing for mediocrity.
We're playing,
and we'll backslap it.
We're playing for the Gagai Bowl, Liam. We've got Jacob Gagai up against Dan Gagai.
Which we've said for years that the Gagai Bowl is arguably a more important trophy than the Proven Summons trophy.
Some call it a gag off. I don't know if that still works.
They shouldn't call it that, but we will. Why not?
Which of them have a better gag reflex, possibly? It's going to be the 28-year-old Jacob Gagai up against the 33.
7?
I don't know how old he is.
8?
Endlessly youthful Dan Gagai, and I'm not sure if they've ever played together against each other in NRL, but it's going to be exciting to see. Jacob Gagai was one of these players that spent so much time there in reserve grade.
Almost became a career reserve grader, which is the most noble career a man can have. A career reserve grader. I think they're the real bedrock of society. The career reserve grader. I say this as a prominent reserve grader myself. Of course, we are the bedrock of this world.
It gets a little bit better though, Liam, because we've got the brothers against each other, but there's also a time for a Fletch off. The Fletchers are playing each other, and Fletcher Sharp, as well as Fletcher Myers, who was a Newcastle Knight only months ago.
Is it too late to petition the NRL to move this game to Fletcher?
Possibly. I think it would be good.
And the boys can open up a fletching business, selling fletchers to the fine people of the Australian bow and arrow community. Archery, that's the word I'm looking for.
Which is the best Fletcher? Which is the best Gagai?
What was the movie Fletch? Because I always get that mixed up with the Will Smith movie Hitch.
With Chevrolet
which was
Chase.
really good. Hitch is a great movie.
It's all Chevy Chase stuff. Do we know anything about Fletch? I think he was a detective.
As far as I know, it's exactly
you were
the
in
same
it.
as Hitch.
I was.
Chevrolet Chase. Did the
I was
music.
considerably taller back then. It's a detective spoof, sort of.
Is he a private detective or something?
He is a private detective.
So he's not a cop, but he's then it's
it's like a film noir, but kind of turned up to 11 in terms of silliness.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, it's when Chevy Chase was good. It's going to be interesting to see if South Sydney has packed the bag and said, this is Ben Hornby said, no, I don't want to coach him. Or Wayne's
just
going to be
keeping
here
the seat warm for Wayne.
That's right.
Because if Wayne sits on a cold seat, he'll get pneumonia and die.
I wonder, will
so old.
Ben Hornby sit on Wayne's knee when he's in the coaching box?
I hope so. That'd be really sweet.
Call him Daddy. It's going to be interesting to see if the Newcastle Knights can actually find some form, win the last 3 games of the season, win 12, lose 12, even pegging, probably finish 12th just to round out the 12.
So the gagging and the pegging. This is going to be a really
the
interesting
pegging,
game. Yeah.
The sitting on the knee, the sharps.
Adam O'Brien's done something really unique and creative in this game.
Yeah.
He's reached deep into his bag of tricks. And he's
What have we
pulled one
haven't
out,
done? Yeah.
Changing up the halves
Changing
combination.
the halves combination.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we've got Phoenix, Crossland,
and Jack Cogger.
that's it. I couldn't even remember who it was because there's so fucking many of them. Phoenix, Crossland, and Jack Cogger probably just going to stink it up out there.
Possibly we'll stink it up. I don't know. And we're going to discuss next week where did it all go wrong once again. But if I'm going to be watching it anywhere there on Saturday afternoon.
Saturday evening 7:30 kickoff.
7:35.
Yep.
I'll tell you what, I'll be heading to the Wickham Park Hotel, having a lovely dinner, Gravy City.
And a delicious schooner of beer, maybe.
Delicious schooner of beer, and then watching our favourite team at a favourite pub, and hopefully finishing the season with a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of a touch of
bit of sweet mush.
Sweet mush.
I don't want to finish with a salty mush this year.
No. Sweet mush to finish to cleanse the palate. Just as if you like us, you can find us on all of these social bits and bobs.
Still haven't got the Twitter going, sorry, Justice.
Tunes, YouTube, SoundCloud. If you're already listening to us, you know which is your preferred platform. Hopefully we'll be coming back and talking about a great win against South Sydney. Hopefully 50-0, and maybe Alan Turing will come in and say, hang on a second, you can still make the finals because the Dragons will shit the bed. I look forward to it. We'll see you next week to take us out. Please, Chevrolet Chase.
That's the ending then.
Oh.